the wisdom of my Mac says, updates available, new software is ready to be installed.
It sounds like you're in trouble if you cannot stop that. Anyway, we are live, and it is Monday. Woo! And it's the next last day of March, I think, being now also Central European summertime. And when I look outdoors, and this morning it was awful, wet snow. I hate that stuff. So it doesn't look much like summertime. But anyway, indoors just fine here. And today we should be going mobile, but we are apparently not. But I guess that depends.
I guess we are all on our laptops.
What mobile means. Go mobile, about mobile tech and what it possibly means to education and learning, if it does mean anything, and everything connected to that. So that's about the deal. I'm Nilo, by the way, as usual. And did I say be smart on air? It's been one of these hectic days again, and I have this cold. Like I had this awful cold 10 days now. A lot better, I must say, luckily. But if I all of a sudden disappear, I guess I just have to go somewhere fast, and then you know what it's all about: coughing, running nose, everything, whatever, the works. My introduction is done. Tina, you go now.
Okay, hi everybody, and I'm Tina from Finland, and been part of this show for, I don't know, about 2 years now, Nilo. Is it about 2 years?
Yes, so it sounds strange, but I guess that's what it is.
Since from the beginning, and quite a nice way of updating my own ideas and knowledge and sharing it with experts from different countries. So looking forward to our discussion today on mobiles and whatever.
Tons of fun having you on board as always, Tina, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kim, do you read us?
Yeah, barely.
Very good.
I'm also not well. I'm recovering from a fever of 39.8 degrees earlier today.
Oops. Are you on drugs, heavy drugs?
No, just regular Iprene. So
okay, all right.
Yeah, temperature is better now, 37.1 a while ago.
Good. What do you do?
I'm IT technician at upper secondary school in the southern part of Sweden, and I've been on this show almost, or about as long as everybody else. and I have a couple of times been mobile during the show.
You have, actually.
Not only with the tech, but also in real life.
Some really amazing things. Actually, I should have taken a couple of those clips and inserted them here. Like biking around the city or whatever, and broadcasting a hangout. So that's kind of pretty cool. And guess what? We are getting our celebrated guest from the other side of the pond here, which sounds just great to me. Bjorn, is your audio good, and is our audio good? Do you see us? Do you hear us?
Well, I'm not hearing you correctly, but that's my own fault.
Yeah, we hear you fine.
You are messing with your rig there for a little while, I guess. Let's see, if we go to Alistair and get the intro from Alistair, and then, since you are furthest away, Bjorn, you'll be the last. Alistair, go for it.
Yeah, hi, I'm Alistair Creelman, a Scot living in the southeast of Sweden at Linnaeus University, a sort of e-learning enthusiast specialist, monitoring what's going on in the field and trying to keep up with the. Well, it's a massive field, and it's great fun to track the trends and comment on them and write about them. And this is a fun way to sort of keep up with things and meet up with people in completely different fields or completely different areas of education and different countries, like Bjorn over in the States.
Absolutely, absolutely. Did you get everything connected okay, Bjorn?
Yeah, it was just coming through the wrong speakers, so it's throwing me off.
Oh heavens, no speakers. What do you do these days, Bjorn? Where are you?
Where am I? Well, I'm sitting in literally a science closet. No, I'm in Fairhaven, Vermont. I'm the IT coordinator, and we got a great one-to-one program here using Chromebooks. I do a lot of lately. I had my own podcast, but I think Nilo now. Be Smart on Air is the one I'm doing most of the time. So
yeah,
I'm very happy to be back on, and spending my time authoring some add-ons.
I've noticed that. Don't you have enough time for your own podcast, or what's the deal?
My own podcast is kind of faded. Maybe I'll bring it back next year. This year, I kind of let that go by the wayside and been focusing on the coding and creating some pretty awesome add-ons for Google Docs.
Yeah. Of course, I don't even know if this thing is a podcast. There are different views on that, I think. I was talking with Jim Collison from. Do you know who he is, by the way, Bjorn? Lots of tech stuff. He's really heavily into tech in many ways and been podcasting for several years. He said that we are doing podcasting.
I would call this. Yeah, there's a fine line between people think that podcasting needs to be. You need to be able to pick it up via an RSS feed. To go technical, but honestly, the way these things are, I would say YouTube coming up weekly, what you're doing, it can be considered a podcast. I would.
Yeah. Live casting, whatever. I don't know.
Maybe it's a new term, YouTube casting, or it's certainly a really great way to get people to it's Hangouts.
Yeah, Hangouts are a cool service, and I think I might be trying to turn this thing into. I was thinking a real podcast. What's a real podcast? But doing, so that people can subscribe through iTunes Store and all that. It might be fun, especially since there are quite a few episodes now, and I think some of them are kind of evergreen. So might do that. I don't know. We must talk about that later on. Great to have you here again, Bjorn. It's been a while.
Yep.
What about mobile? I guess it depends if you're thinking about like mobile phones, cell phones, or if you are thinking about like all this mobile tech, which is I think everyone is using these days. Talking about mobile phones, when did you guys start using mobile phones? For my part, I had never used, actually, the first mobile phone, cell phone I got when I was something like 25. I'm not kidding you guys. I just felt I didn't need it at all. And of course they were not around when I was young. What about you folks? When did you get your mobile phones? Do you have a mobile phone? Who doesn't?
My first one was Nokia Ringo.
Whoa, Nokia! We are way back in history.
It was like a very big, looked like a real telephone. It was very big, and my it was top. It was the first sort of everybody's mobile, which you didn't have to carry around with the 2 kilo, 5 kilo battery. So that was really mobile. but that was fun.
My first mobile was a Nokia as well, and it was about that size. It was a fairly large scale thing, but actually I remember back in maybe it was 91 or something. I remember borrowing my boss's mobile to make a phone call, and it was like, wow.
Yeah.
And it was the suitcase variety. It was a great big box that you carried like a suitcase, and there was a phone on top and a dial. And you phoned up, and you really felt like there wasn't a dial. It wasn't that primitive. It was a handset with a wire into this great big battery box, and of course you just had to say it when I was making the phone call. Sort of, you know what? I'm phoning from out in the field. And yes, you had these enormous, great big bricks that people used to carry around, and the bigger the phone, the bigger the status in a way. They had these amazing guys, these adverts for those cell phones. You still see them in old films from the early 90s, these yuppies with the great big things on their hands.
Hey, Kim's got the photos up.
Oh, great.
Of the bricks there.
Yeah, that's the first phone, a Motorola Dynatek.
I think the photo I have in the event is part from the dial pad of that one. I think.
Remember there was even the sort of a medical complaint of yuppie ear.
Yeah.
Where the guy who sort of sticks the phone up to his head with the aerial still out and into his ear. True.
Yeah. I started out in 1991. I had a pager. I didn't
I was going to wait for a while.
Yeah.
Yep. I didn't have a phone. I lived alone in an apartment in the same town as my school. And when my parents called me, I had to go borrow the phone from some friend and call home.
I still have my pager somewhere in a drawer. I don't think it functions any longer, though. I mean, mechanically yes, electronically yes, but not in the ecosystem that.
No, right.
That we have today.
In those days, I think I had two sons, so we had three mobiles going on in the family, and at that time we were so poor that all the old mobile phones were brought back to the shop, and they paid for them. So it was like recycling. Today, I don't know if they buy back anything anymore. Maybe the most expensive smartphones, but at that time they were expensive, and always we recycled the old phones.
I used my pager even after even after I got a mobile, because we put the pager on our little son, and when he went out playing, when he was about, so that we didn't quite know where he was. Sometimes he wasn't far away. He was only about 4 or 5 years old, but when it was time for dinner or something, we paged him.
Ah, right.
And he didn't work out how to turn the thing off, so he just kept beeping until he and he thought it was quite cool, because his friends were so, oh my God, you got one of those, and cool.
And today parents are like putting those chips in the children's hands or whatever surgically. They're keeping tabs on there all the time. Are they really doing that? I hope not. Sounds kind of awful.
No, but GPS trackers on the kids.
Yeah.
Like a watch, or you can have around their arm.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon, or it's not so common even.
Does anyone use dumb phones any longer, or is it the internet connection that's the very thing? Do you make phone calls with your phones? But I guess everyone has a smartphone these days.
Yeah, I call people.
Let's select this one here. Does this work? See, I'm trying to select my own.
Yeah, there it is.
Great question. Do you really make phone calls with your smartphone? I don't make any phone calls if I can avoid it, and I'm pretty good at avoiding it. What about you guys?
Yeah, that's the idea. I mean, I tell people I have levels of communications, of urgencies. I mean, if you send an email, that's probably the least urgent communication you have. And then if you send I have one of those at work too. And an SMS is like, oh, I'd like an answer today with an SMS. If you call someone, then it has to be really, really important, and you really need to get an answer right now. So I try to SMS as much as possible, because then both I and the recipient can communicate whenever we feel like it.
But isn't it strange how the sort of the prime function of a phone, if we can still, I mean, now we call them just mobiles. It's silly to call them phones, but I mean, the prime function was talking, and it's unbelievable how, in a way, that has been sort of swept aside. And sometimes I used to get frustrated. It says, looking at my son, how he was sitting there texting like mad for half an hour. And I said, for heaven's sake, make a call and talk to the person. I mean, rather than doing all this frenetic, it seems so primitive. It's like sitting there doing Morse code when you can talk to the person. I can see the attraction, but when you're really having a conversation, I can't understand why you don't sort of, pick it up and start talking. Anyone explain this?
I don't get it either. If it's like that, perhaps it's just fun. Have you asked them, the kids?
Yeah.
Why are you doing it? Perhaps they say it's just fun.
Yeah. Just sort of, why would you talk? They say.
Talk with your fingers.
Yeah. With having a long conversation with the same person on SMS, it soon gets quite boring. So.
More actions.
All those actions are grayed out when I try it.
We're getting a bit of feedback from somewhere. I don't know from where.
Yeah.
Hopefully not from me. I'm checking here. Oh.
That was Björn. I killed him.
Okay, good. Björn got killed. It's a tough life and death.
You have to turn on his microphone again.
Well, he can do it himself.
And now we are only 4.
Yeah, right. We kill those panel members who
one by one
do what we tell them to. That's nice. Really nice. So how old are the kids these days when they get their phones? Obviously, when the kids get a phone, it's a smartphone, huh?
Yeah.
In our part of the
it's an inherited phone. It's an old phone. Someone else used it before.
Yeah, the parents' old phones.
Yeah, you just sort of give it down to someone.
But it's got the internet access, huh?
Yeah.
Usually, yes.
They say now that I can't remember the figures from the latest Swedish survey, but it had, over 50% of 2-year-olds have internet access, mostly through mobile.
Oh, man.
Is
this getting crazy or what?
Or mostly, I think tablets are the big thing, because 2-year-olds have a tablet and it's mostly connected, so that, there you go.
Yeah, you have to connect it to get the apps. You don't do anything
right.
apps.
They're right.
Come on, my daughter uses my old phone.
Yeah.
She's so proud of it. Walks around a crack screen and everything. Knows how to play Pandora.
Yep.
Does it have the worm game?
From Nokia.
That's the Nokia specialty,
He remembers.
I bet Microsoft will.
It was like Angry Birds at that time.
Microsoft will bring it back, Tina, I'm sure.
Yeah, I remember that my sons were very good at playing games, and they made a completely amazing worm game record for me on my phone, so I could know everybody and look, can you do better? So it was like 5 times better than anyone of the people I knew. So they were like, oh God, you must be genius. But it was something 6-year-olds could do very well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll have to say my earliest smartphone wasn't even a phone at all. It was the TI-85 calculator.
Yeah.
Because you could program for it.
So are you calling it a phone?
Well, I'm not calling it a phone, but I'm calling it a mobile computing device. Like you have it.
Mobile device.
Yeah.
Because it was one of the first ones that you could actually add apps to. So I literally programmed a searchable database of the periodic table of elements. plus a few other games on there. So when you were saying the worm game, yeah, we had that.
Yeah.
And I remember having, oh man, I forget what game it was, but our whole physics class, well, we didn't pay attention to our physics teacher. We sat there and just played, had this huge tournament going on. But when I think about how I use my mobile phone now, that TI-85 calculator with the mobile apps that I could load was the predecessor, not the brick or the pager in my.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of interesting. I mean, these smartphones everyone has these days in our part of the world where we have tons of money to use to whatever we please, it seems. So they are extremely capable computers. But how many people actually do any coding on them? I guess like extremely few.
I would say that I don't know what other people think, but for me, the mobile phone is more like a device for browsing and reading messages or reading emails or reading or following Twitter or following Facebook, but not writing. Actually, if I want to contribute, I usually take my iPad or laptop, and so it's. I feel that when it's so small, it's not for me so easy to use. But maybe I'm too old.
Well,
but still, I think many people feel the same way.
I think really it's the media side of the mobiles today that is so interesting, because I think what a lot of people are doing in schools is, getting the kids to use their mobiles for field work where they can film, say in the forest, or if they're doing biology field work, they can make their own films. They can take photos. They can then share the photos. They can upload them to various sites. They can make rough notes. I agree with you, Tina, that it's a bit difficult writing a long article, but certainly rough notes and things like tweets and so on are extremely good that way. And I think some schools are doing a lot of good work with mobile devices, but there are others who are locked into this idea that they're disruptive. And it's rather ironic that on the one hand, some schools are giving them laptops but banning the mobiles, and you sort of think, well, wait a minute, they are bringing their own very powerful devices. We need to help them discover how to use them for education rather than thinking they're just for fun. And I think a lot of kids and adults can't see the educational uses of mobiles. They need to discover them or help someone help them.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about the educational side, using mobiles, somehow cell phones to make learning more fun or extending somehow the scope of learning. So obviously I forgot to mail the direct link to the Hangout to Mats Larsnes, who has been doing some really cool stuff with his students. I mailed it now, so we'll see if he's still around. It would be fun having him here, since he knows quite a bit of that, what you really can do with the students there. But I guess without internet access, do mobile phones make any sense today? I guess they don't. Huh?
Mobile phones or smartphones? Are we separating mobile phones and smartphones?
I don't know. Are we?
I don't think there's.
Are there any phones that are being used like in say in the States or Nordic area, Europe, without internet access?
Well, I live in Vermont, which has a lot of mountains, so our coverage is horrid. So my phone, I connect to the Wi-Fi here, but I can't get phone calls, I can't get texts, I can't do anything. And as soon as I take, half a mile down the road and I jump on the highway, which then I'm in my car and I then I can't look at them or anything else. I get cell phone service, and I drive to my house, and a mile before my house, I lose cell phone service.
Mm. So is the coverage? Are there like huge areas in? I guess there are huge areas in the U.S. where you don't have like mobile internet access.
I mean, there are, and whether you're going into a building and lose a bunch, I'm sure the cities are more condensed.
Mm.
But in the rural areas, it's like you're driving down the road and all of a sudden your phone just kind of goes off because it's been off.
Mm.
You've been off for a half an hour and then you're back on.
Of course, in
driving
rural
down the road
areas, in rural areas in Sweden, meaning very northern Sweden, basically. That's my home turf. There are huge areas as well, pretty big at least, where you can have, where you definitely don't have internet access on your phone, and most probably you don't even have cell coverage, like in the very north. No way, I think. Like with mountainous whatever, and it doesn't make sense apparently business-wise providing that service. So
that's in non-tourist areas. Even when you have a skiing slope, there's coverage up on the hill.
Yeah, right.
If it's just
Finland,
empty mountains.
it's governed by the government, so they have to build a network also to those areas which are not sort of business-wise very, very profitable. So it's a government sort of there's a law or a decree and they have to build the network so that it covers every inch of the country.
And also, I think the most governments in the world are sort of prioritizing the spread of mobile networks. I mean, I've seen recent TV reports and magazine reports from various African countries. There's a lot of e-learning, a lot of mobile learning going on in schools there, where they're even using sort of old-style phones and SMS services. And there's the one thing they do have is mobile access. Okay, not absolutely everywhere, but even in countries like Nigeria, Kenya, and so on. Yeah. For example, in Kenya, it's one of the highest mobile paying by mobile is they're leading the world with that.
That's right. It's a mobile valley, Silicon Valley of Africa. Really, it's developing in very strongly at the moment.
Yeah, I think there's a rule or a policy that you have to cover like 99% of the people in Sweden, which means you don't have to in the northern part of Norrland because there's nobody there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
But it's surprising where you do get mobile coverage, and you get it in places where really there aren't any people at all, and there is good coverage in many very remote areas, so that it's getting much better.
Sure.
Yeah, and also it depends on your ISP, your operator.
Yeah.
Yeah, that too. But they have to. In Finland, there is also a law that they have to cooperate. So So if one builds a network covering a remote area, the other one can use their network. They don't have to build their own network there.
Oh, that would be nice if we get that in the States.
Yeah, roaming.
Everybody's kind of against each other. Although I do hear Google's coming out with their own.
Yeah, in some areas.
Something's apparently happening there, for sure. Interesting.
You do Wi-Fi.
How do we get the mobiles, the devices, out of the sort of shame corner in the classroom, where so many places are banning them and see them as the worst nuisance in the world of education? How do we get them out of that sort of clear their name in a way and start using them positively? How do you make that transition from them being a menace to classroom activity to being a help?
You have to have.
It's really interesting. It's really interesting since, of course, it's pretty much the same story when using say, laptops. And in many schools, I guess, definitely in mine, every student has a laptop, and that thing is out of the shame corner already.
Yeah.
Even though you're pretty much doing the same thing with that that you are doing with your cell phone as well. And obviously, you can mess things up just as fine with your laptop as you can with your smartphone. But you're right, Alstar. I think the phones are still like, or very rarely used to anything close to their full potential in learning, I think. Now we are allowed, we teachers are allowed in Sweden to grab the phones, and put them away. We have the legal right to do that. Oh man, it's just seems strange, all of it.
I have had to do that a few times, and it's a problem. And it's not nice to actually have to do it, but when you do it like that, it's usually because that person is not paying attention at all.
Yeah.
Actually, it might even be disturbing the class.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we had a working life event the other day where there was a lawyer visiting, and she, during her presentation in my class, she told one of the kids, or asked him, was there anything interesting on the phone, because he was messing with his phone instead of listening. And he turned it around and just asked her about her hourly fee, because he had looked it up on her webpage, how much he charges for her service.
And it's really kind of interesting talking about adults as well.
Yeah.
Since pretty much all the meetings these days, there are quite a few. If I'm participating, might be me checking their phones every now and then, and what those people, including me, are doing. Well, I guess that depends a bit.
I think that you can sort of if you integrate mobile phone usage or mobile apps and technology and to the classroom activities, then of course that would sort of legitimize their use. I think it's a problem if you have phones or mobile phones and you can't use them for any sensible thing. If you're only studying in your textbook and not using any other resources or things, but if the teachers start to sort of encourage students to find information with their smartphones and use different apps and so on, take photos, take videos, record podcasts and so on that are connected with what they are learning, then I think that's how to do it. Of course, if you don't have that kind of activities, then they are bound to be in a way disturbance.
Well, I think my biggest problem, I think the hardest obstacle with mobile in the classroom is distraction, because mobile phones, they're designed to give you notifications of updates and other information. So they are a constant bombardment of information and distractions.
However, so are computers, all the computers, like...
Yeah, it is, but I think phones are specifically made to be that way. And that's okay. I mean, that's what they're for. So to be able to use them in the classroom, and you have to not get distracted. The student needs to not get distracted by, oh, I just got an email. And I got to admit, I'm worse for this. Like, I have to take my phone away from myself if I need to focus on something else.
Yeah.
Speaking of phones.
Yeah. At last, someone is, doing the real thing, the mobile part of this thing. Mats is joining us.
Yes. Can you hear me?
We sure do, Mats.
Yes.
How about a quick introduction? Are you driving?
I'm driving, yes.
Oh man. So hopefully hands-free and
yes,
all that jazz.
Yes.
And that's your son, I take it.
No, my son is reading.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah.
Real book.
About dinosaurs.
Amazing. A real book.
Does he realize he's live on the web at the moment?
Right.
Yes, I think so. Yes,
Mats, where are you driving?
I'm driving from Gothenburg to Varberg.
Okay. Very southern Sweden then.
Yeah.
Hey, couldn't
a
you
quick
say?
introduction, you say? Yes.
Couldn't you say, Mats, a couple of words first?
Yes.
What you do, and then about if you can say something about what you've been doing with teachers and their students. Since if I got it right, you don't actually have students yourself, but you work with teachers and they work with students. What do you do, and what have you been doing with mobile tech at school?
Yeah. First, I'm an ICT teacher or ICT advisor, and I work with 3 schools and 8 kindergartens, and I work for increase the skills in technical devices and so on, and using that in their schools and kindergartens. So I work mostly with the teachers. But for now, for two months ago, I work as a consultant instead. So, but I'm off for 6 months, and I'll see again if I go back to my ordinary work or what's happened. But I have done several projects. Some of them are supported by Svenska Skolverket, Swedish Agency for Education, I think. And I have done projects in mathematics with ages for 12 to 15. Then we have mathematics tasks outside the school and so on, and problem-solving tasks. So
if I got it right, Mats, you've been doing stuff together with teachers so that they have really integrated the use of, like in this case, cell phones with what they are teaching, what the students are learning, and so they've been like running in and out of the classroom and perhaps collecting stuff with their cell phones out of the classroom and bringing it back and working on that. Is that roughly correct?
Yeah. And then in the last years, I've been working on the preschools or kindergartens, and I've done projects together with schools and preschools, and so the schools students have done some, you could say, radio teater, so to say.
Like radio. What do you call plays?
I think that's the term. Radio plays for the kids, and the story is in the surrounding of the kindergartens, and they also then related to the preschool's curriculum and so on.
Sounds really neat, to me. And I must say that I haven't at least heard of many examples of the kind you've been talking about, Mats, and what you have described earlier, actually, when we've been talking about these things earlier. So it's really neat to hear about that. And I'd like to bring up one of the comments from the questions and answers app. Actually, the one Alistair entered earlier, where he said about that that kids don't necessarily know how to use mobiles for learning, or mobile devices, generally speaking, I guess, and should like teach mobile literacy, being part of digital literacy. Is that, what do you think of that, Mats? Is mobile literacy a beast of its own, or is it just like part of this big thing?
Jerry, I think it's a part of the big literacy word in some way. So I think the world changing, and here we have the mobile part, and it don't have to be that different, I think. So I think you can incorporate it in the literacy itself, I think. It's more maybe in the minds of the teachers and the students that we going to think about this mobility.
Okay, now we're going outer space.
You're breaking up a little bit. It's been nice and clear all the way, Mats, but now you are breaking out a little bit. So I was just about to say that, man, you got great mobile coverage there, and then you are breaking up a bit. But I guess that's the way it is. Very cool indeed. Yeah, I
don't hear you. I think it's bad connection now.
Okay. If you can, keep listening, Mats, live, so that would be great. We'll see if we'll see how your coverage, how that will be later on during your journey. But thanks for popping in. It was really neat.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I've been doing with cell phones with my students is, I guess, a couple of quizzes, whatever. And they could obviously use any devices they had, since it was all about the internet use. That's about it. I haven't been doing anything like what Mats has been talking about, like really using the cell phones in active fashion, like getting out of the classroom and running around somewhere in the neighborhood and checking some whatever measurements or something, and using that data for say maths or whatever tasks afterwards. And of course that is the kind of thing that is really neat.
Nilo, you must join my learning event.
I must do that. Please tell a little bit about your upcoming learning event.
And also a lot about how to run around and do things.
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at running around, however.
And find real things that are interesting, and it's about
why don't you say a couple of words about the learning event? What is it, and when is it going to be available, and where and how?
So it's starting on the 13th of April and will go on until the 27th. No. Okay.
Just go on. I think I'll mute Mats here.
And the application will be open. Application for the course will be open next Monday. And well, it's got 3 parts. First part is about going outside the classroom, or bringing the world into the classroom. So asking visitors and sort of living library thing, for example, or experts, inviting experts into your classroom. And the second part is about about real life content in learning. So how can you use real things? Talk about, this is about, of course, about real phenomena and real problems, world problems, real things, and so on. So and real resources, and then the third part will be about virtual world. So how can internet and mobile technology and things like that help you to be connected in the world, even if you are in your classroom? So you can be you can have visitors from around the world. You can have partner classes around the world. You can travel to any part of the world virtually, and so on. So
Tina, how can I take part? How can someone take part in the event?
Yeah, it's just go to your eTwinning desktop
Okay,
Yeah.
and to make clear, e-twinning, of course, being the
Yeah.
European
It's for
Union
e-twinning
amazing school collaboration platform that perhaps is not known to everyone, but should be, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's through e-twinning platform you'll make it available, right?
Yeah.
Just want to bring up there's a guy, Benjamin Stewart, who is contributing quite very well to the chat at the moment.
I just saw that. Yeah.
And I mean, talking about the teachers as learning designers need to create situations where students see a need to use their mobile device for educational purpose, and teachers be prepared to guide students through this process. I think that's important, that we actively, in a way, sort of foster mobile or digital literacy this way, that providing them with a reason, you know, you need to be able to show that they can use their mobile devices within the classroom context. And I think maybe also a thing is to come on to agree conditions with the students. I think even in all classes, even here at the university, I think if you'd have a discussion at the beginning of the course and say, let's agree together how we are going, the netiquette of this class, how are we going to use our devices in class, and be able to have a sort of, that we agree that, okay, that if we say, right, now no devices, nothing at all, we're here and now, and then you know that maybe in half an hour, maybe in quarter of an hour, now it's device time. I want you to get your devices out and search for information or vote on a poll or something. I think it's working out that kind of modus vivendi with a class, a way of working. And I think that's a common decision, but I think if you spend time working on it, I think most classes are quite happy to agree on when to switch off and when to switch on.
I couldn't agree more, really. You know, I think it's so important to go through these netiquette things, like common rules or whatever you want to call that. And just to bring up other question from this time from the questions and answers app from Marilina. She goes, how can you prevent incorrect use of mobiles in school, or whatever mobile devices, you know, can be laptops, can be whatever, that is unwanted picture taking, messaging, and so on. Have you got a school policy? Again, I guess you really need to have some kind of policy with your group of students, whatever the age.
I just, you know, because I have this anarchist nature, I just take
I like that.
rules for and laws and things for everything. This goes against my grain. So, but I think it's like any new way of learning. When you start using student-centered learning methods, and where students are very active, the first feeling is that this is a mess and there is terrible noise, and they're making a lot of, you know, unpleasant noise instead of being quiet all the time. But when they get used to these different ways of learning, it becomes part of the school and the class culture. So it's like the phones are there for use, for a special use, and different things, and you can move and go around, and tables and chairs and anything is, but you can also sit on the floor. So it's like they have their use, but then they have their place. But it's like growing, and of course, if you suddenly start to use phones and say, okay, you can have your phones now and keep them open and so on. So first, of course, there is this disturbance and things don't. But very soon, I think you just have to go past that inconvenience zone or inconvenience period, and after that, everything becomes more good, better, much better. So I think this is the way to do it. I've noticed it with almost all new kinds of way of learning, that first there is a chaos, But when they learn how to do it, and they actually, students want to have this order in a way.
Absolutely.
In the classroom. So it doesn't mean that they should be quiet or not move, but they want to know why we do things and what is the order of things, and that raises from the goal of the activities, or the why we're doing them.
But I think we also need to have that discussion about, it's about sort of showing respect to each other, showing and sort of not posting abusive comments, racist, sexist, trying to, again, it's about respect, and I think they can generally agree on that together quite well.
Yeah, this bullying thing,
Yeah.
if you like. I mean, of course, it's the whole phenomenon, I guess, is as old as we human beings are, in a way, and whether it's through mobile devices, the internet, or if it's something that happens during the breaks between the classes somewhere where no teachers see anything, perhaps. I mean, it's the same behavior, of course, and that's something that I'd guess we all in education need to pay attention to all the time. But like talking about what is it called? Like cyberbullying or stuff. I don't know. I feel kind of, I don't know if I like that expression too much, since it's the same thing anyway. Sure, it can hit harder in some cases than different older methods, if you like, but it's the same behavior in a way, and I guess that's what I feel, just like you guys have said, that talking about this netiquette or proper use of whatever tools you are using, of course including the internet, that's pretty much what it boils down to all the time. So it's just something you have to do all the time. Take these discussions over and over again, and I think there's no way of somehow being sure that nothing inconvenient or kind of nasty happens. It does happen. That kind of things do happen, but I think it's so important that you are prepared for that in a way, and can tackle that somehow and discuss that, and like what went wrong and why. Hopefully, we can learn something about that.
Well, they can use those mobile phones outside the classroom the minute they step outside the classroom. So,
yeah.
So it's just to say that you're not allowed to use them in the classroom doesn't sort of solve that problem. So. So in a way, it's better to use them in the classroom and talk about these things and talk about respect and so on. So I think always sort of it's better to sort of not to just abandon things because you're afraid of some problems that might arise, but rather just face the problems and try to solve them, and then you can go on and develop.
Agreed to that. And about this distraction thing, it's the same thing with the laptops, for example. So like it really drives me nuts sometimes when the students just open up their laptops before we even got started, and they don't even know what is perhaps exactly what's going to be in the agenda and they just fire up the laptop, and well, of course I say that, hey guys, can you just wait a while, let's just close the lids, we don't need them right now, do we? No. Yeah, I guess that's a discussion you need to tackle as well.
Yeah, it's like the skill of attention is a key literacy, because I mean but it's not just a kids thing. I mean it's not generational. We're all as bad, and I have to sometimes really stop myself and look. Wait a minute, I'm not getting anywhere with my task today. Why? I've got Skype open, I've got Twitter open, I've got email open, Facebook's there, they're all bleeping and beeping and little things are popping up and cool people are putting cool things out that are much more interesting than what I'm doing. And it is so hard to tell yourself, shut it all down and concentrate, for heaven's sake. So it's no surprise that the kids have trouble with it.
No, it's no surprise, and I feel exactly the same.
We all need to learn this again, this ability to just shut it all down for a while and concentrate. Or what do you think?
Yeah, and like if you are having a presentation, for example, I don't have many presentations, but just thinking back, if you go back several years, say 10, whatever, and you had this presentation somewhere, well, those guys there in the audience, they were sitting there. I guess I couldn't tell if some of them were sleeping or not, but at least they were, like facing me most probably, and I guess most of them there were awake as well. These days, it's completely different. Each and everyone has got at least a couple of mobile devices there. Of course. Oh, Kim, you are in bad shape. Hope you'll get better soon. And no problems. Anyway, so these days everyone has got his or her devices, and I don't know. Of course, there's no way of telling if whatever they're doing has a connection to what's happening there and what I'm presenting.
Thank you, Alistair.
That's the deal. I mean, yeah.
Well,
and I don't know if there's anything to do about that, or if there should be anything to do about that either. But that's the way it is today, isn't it?
But if you talk to the people who study your brains, and if you go to the ancient times before internet, I remember when I was doing my homework at my desk, I had a little radio there, and always I put on the radio and started to listen to music when I was doing my homework. So I felt I concentrated better with the noise on, with the music on, and
Tina, music is not really noise, true. Tina. Music is not noise.
that you some of us need different kinds of impulses to
Absolutely.
be concentrated, so not one is not enough. So you
Absolutely.
concentrate better if you have music or something else. So having your phone there maybe helps you to concentrate on what the teacher is saying, instead of just trying to listen to him and be very nervous or anxious.
In some cases, I bet it's true, and in many cases, it's not. I have another thing from Benjamin here. It's really great having someone listening or watching. I'm in awe of this, really. It's incredible.
Our first audience.
Benjamin goes here. In flipped classrooms, how does one find balance between what students do in class versus outside of class using mobile tech? In flipped classroom, how do you find the balance? What students do in class versus outside of class? That was a mouthful, or whatever.
Actually, I think it's a good one for students to learn to separate or integrate. I mean, what they're doing in the classroom, the more connections that they can make from what they're doing in the classroom to what they're doing outside of the classroom.
Yeah, I guess there should be a very clear connection, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that's how to distract, how to not get caught up in the the drama of your life and Snapchat. That I can't answer, but I think a big one is showing the students ways that they can use these tools properly. You know that they're going to have them. Well, here's a way that you can actually use Snapchat in an educational format in a positive way, and give them those examples that they can then use. Do they have to use it for their particular assignment? No. But if you at least give them the options to say, here's how you could use this one, here's how you could use this one, and maybe if they have another tool that they would like to integrate that you maybe not have heard of, saying, hey, if you're going to use it, that's great. I'm looking forward to it. Please share so you can share it with the other one. That's a big one. The more that you have a student share their experience with the rest of the class, or have to, the more that they're likely use it properly. And that's always, I mean, I don't care whether you use your phone or not, but you have to tell me what you're doing, and you have to share the class with what you're doing, and that just adds a level of accountability to what they're using these mobile phones for.
Makes definitely sense.
And of course, if you students do a lot of things in the classroom which are not quite related to their learning. They can be playing with things and you know, doing talking to each other or writing messages to each other and doing things that are not related to their learning. But of course you can't cut off their hands or their ears.
Preferably not.
Their phone. So this is, I mean, this is kind of things that are, you know, part of a teacher's life. They're not always interested in what you're doing in the classroom. They can find hundreds and million ways of
my students are always interested.
And being irritable and irritating and awful, and you know, just mobile phones is just one thing that the teachers sort of direct their anger at. So it's safe to be angry at mobile phones rather than the students, right? So I think this is just part of the life of a teacher, and we have to deal with all these things all the time.
Just accept it, use it, and make it work. Huh?
But I think there is I think if we can call them distractions, the distractions of today in social media have never been more tempting. I mean, yes, we have had bits of paper under the desk and so on, but that wasn't a terribly exciting app. But you know, today's social media are so
instructional
immersive.
Or educational.
Yeah.
So they learn by their, you know, taking part in games and actions and things on social media.
But it's just how things popping up and the alerts and so on. I mean, it is very difficult to concentrate on something when you get all these alerts and there's all the blips and it just keeps popping up, and it is so interesting because, my God, she's done what? I must check, you know, or sort of, what did he say? Goodness me, and you know, you drop everything because it is part of, you know, your best friend is just, or someone, you know, it is hard to fight against that.
Stop tweeting in the middle of the night.
It's very, very immersive and very, very you know, that's the thing. It's how can we start controlling this? It's incredibly powerful. We've never had that type of powerful media before. That is the difference.
Perhaps we've completely lost control forever. Nothing we can do about it.
I have to go.
Yeah, take care. I guess we'll be wrapping up here. Yeah. We are doing overtime. Thanks, Kim.
It's my daughter's 14th birthday, so we're off today.
Oh, congrats.
Oh, nice.
Happy birthday to her.
Happy birthday from me too.
Happy birthday from all over the world, I guess. This is kind of cool.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, take care. Yeah, just to start wrapping this thing up. So just one example about how the information reaches everyone really quickly these days. A couple of years ago, one of my colleagues here at school hurt her hand. It could have been kind of serious. It didn't turn out that bad. Anyway, so each and every one, all the students at least, knew about it in, say, within 2 minutes, I'd say. And that was mostly, I think, through the laptops, more than actually cell phones. I think it was through the whatever laptop communication channels. So for better or worse, everyone knew it right away. That's the way it works. Final words here. Where are we going from here? teachers need to face the facts. Phones are just one way of communication, and it's just one tool. We must learn how to utilize them properly. No way around that, huh?
Well, no, I don't think there's any way around it. I think it's the distractibility, or the way it's being used, is here to stay. It may change form factors, but it's here. We have to, and I don't think just assuming that a student knows how to check Facebook on a cell phone means that they know how to use it properly.
Absolutely. And the thing that Alastair was talking about earlier, that many young people, perhaps many older people, don't know how to use their devices for learning. We got to work on that, I think, quite a bit.
Yeah,
I definitely see that with laptops, for heaven's sake.
I think technology in general, mobile is probably, it's highlighting it more. The misconception that of being able to navigate a device doesn't necessarily mean you know how to use it productively.
Nah, but it's a good start.
And I think that's where education really needs to look at is we have these devices, they're not going away, they can be used productively. Here is the ways in which the etiquette that you use and the thought process you use to use these tools productively and in a positive manner, and not turn it into just a pure consumption social device.
Yeah, I saw just now the other day I saw I got a nice quote that I used in a blog post. It's about from consumers to learners, because in a way on the net today we're very good at consuming entertainment. We're watching, we're listening, we're and so on. But people are not really producing that much, and there's only a minority who know how to use the net for something constructive or creative. And in a way, the role of education is to help people move from simple consumption of media to actually starting to utilize and create through media to actually do something positive. And that's the challenge in a way. I think we're at the stage where all our devices, we're so happy that we've got them. They do so many fun things, and we're just playing around with them a bit randomly. We have to sort of get ourselves organized and see the potential, and that you can do an awful lot more with the net and with our devices than sending pictures of lolcats and fun videos of people falling over and so on. I mean, there is much more to internet than cats.
Yeah.
Really?
Well,
honestly, believe it or not, yes.
Yeah, and I think
in a way I agree with Björn that we have this choice. We can either start building walls and sort of build a school where you have to leave all your phones and mobile devices in your locker when you enter the school, and it's like a closed society there, and then when you go out then you can take your mobiles. Or we can build or construct or develop our schools to be an open place with open doors and open windows, and which is connected in the society in very, very different ways. And for me, I think the choice is obvious. I want to develop school in the direction of openness, connectedness. And I think there's always, of course, there are dangers, but there is so much more to pros in that, so much more to profit in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we really don't have a choice here. That's just the way it is.
This is, I think, in China, in many countries in Asia, they make this different choice too. So they have, of course, they have their devices inside the school, but they are sort of limited, and they are school devices, and the student can use the school computers and school laptops and school mobiles for schoolwork inside the school.
Yeah. I wrote somewhere in a blog post ages back, well, at least several years ago, that something about the walls of the school buildings. They've always been there to keep the students in and the outside world out. And if we stick to that, I guess we've really lost it. That might be perhaps some kind of a bottom line. I don't know. Do you think, Tina?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. It's been fun as always. We are way over time. Funny. Sometimes this thing just keeps going and going, and kind of fires up again. Like when we should be calling it quits. But now I guess we should be calling it quits. It's been great. If you guys have a minute or two now afterwards, so don't hang up. Would be fun in case you have to scoot. So take care.
I better go.
Great to have you on board.
Yep.
It's been fun once again.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.